A few minutes to settle. Tonight we'll be working with impermanence and equanimity, the ebb and flow of loss and gain through the simple practice of breathing. I'll start with a brief body scan and then we'll move into deeper practice. Finding a position that feels supportive. We want to be upright but at ease. You might close your eyes or soft gaze on the floor in front of you. And the meditation will begin and end at the sound of the bell. Just allowing the body to arrive in the present. We'll begin with the top of the head, easing tension in our scalp, our temples, our eyes, beginning to let everything just rest and fully arrive. As we travel down, easing the jaw, maybe removing the tongue from the roof of the mouth if it's there. As we go down into our neck and our shoulders. With each breath, relieving tension as we come across it. Down the shoulder blades and the arms. Relaxing each of our fingers. With each inhale, finding some expansion in our chest, some openness. And with each exhale, feeling a deeper grounding in our bodies. Easing the tension in our hips, down our legs, and our feet. Feeling held and supported by the chair or cushion underneath us. Maybe taking a few minutes to breathe a little bit deeper. Deeper exhales as we find some rootedness in the present moment. Noticing where our body is touching the ground or chair and letting those points of contact remind us that we're supported and that there's something steady beneath us even as life is shifting around us. Giving a moment to pay attention to our breath, not in an effort to change or alter it, but to simply recognize this moment in the here and now, and that with each breath, there is change. With each inhale, gaining all the energy that this breath brings, and each exhale, letting go. Gain and loss with each breath. Begin to bring your awareness to the changing nature of your experience right now. Noticing sensations in the body. Maybe there's a warmth or a coolness. Maybe you feel at ease or uptight. Noticing how even within one breath, there are sensations that shift. We might take a moment to reflect quietly. Just like this breath, all things that arise will also cease. Just like this breath, all things that arise will also cease. See if you can rest in that knowing, not pushing away what's coming up or what might be here, also not holding on to it, but just witnessing it as it comes and goes. And if your mind is wandering, if you've got a busy mind tonight, that's totally okay. Just gently return to the practice. Thank you, mind, for that thought, but I'm going to stay here right now. Let's gently begin to bring something to mind that feels like a gain in your life. Might be something simple, like a sneeze, or a recent joy, connection, or a moment of ease or accomplishment. And as you bring this thought to mind, this gain, notice what arises in the body as you bring it to mind. Perhaps there's warmth, or an openness, or an expansion, or maybe there's feelings of fear, of losing that gain, or some anxiety. There's no right or wrong way to be observing this gain, but see if you can soften around whatever might be coming up, breathing into it with awareness. Maybe bringing to mind this phrase, "This too will change." This too will change. And give yourself permission to let the mind and body feel what it's like to enjoy something without needing to grasp it. Permission to feel pleasure, comfort, joy, whatever might be arising. It's all a part of the natural ebb and flow. Now, gently bring to mind something that might feel like a loss. Maybe the absence of someone or a change in your routine, or even a feeling that's been hard to find. And notice what arises here. Is there contraction? Is there an ache? Is there a wish for it to be different? And with some tenderness, breathe into it and remind yourself that this too will change. This too will change. Loss is not forever, just the same way that gain is not forever. They are each other's ebb and flow. In the words of one of my favorite teachers, Bugunalio, he says, "We suffer not because things change, but because we expect them not to." We're going to spend the next few minutes deepening our practice by bringing our awareness to a wider field of experience. The whole body breathing, the sounds in the room or outside, the feelings that are coming up by being here in this moment, everything that might be arising, moving, or passing. And see if you can allow yourself to be open to all of it without needing to fix or control or change or hold on to. But instead, bringing a practice of equanimity. We can gently repeat these phrases as an anchor as we move through this practice. May I meet gain and loss with a steady heart. May I remember that all things change. May I rest in the truth of impermanence. Take what works, leave the rest. May I meet gain and loss with a steady heart. May I remember that all things change. May I rest in the truth of impermanence. And if it feels difficult to practice so close to yourself and your own experiences, sometimes using an external benefactor can be helpful. So bringing someone to mind that is easy to love, a friend, a pet, a teacher, and instead offer these phrases to them. May you meet gain and loss with a steady heart. May you remember that all things change. May you rest in the truth of impermanence. Let these phrases be gentle, not something to force, but instead like quiet reminders or whispers in your ear. And if the mind feels foggy or if it feels a little too heavy tonight, full permission to return to the breath, the simple in and out, the simple gain and loss of breathing. Practicing with the inevitable arising and passing away. We'll spend the next few minutes in silent practice. The meditation will end at the sound of the bell. feel like that was the quietest meditation this room has ever been. Michigan got quiet for a minute. It was nice. So, like I had mentioned, tonight we're going to start our new series where we talk about the worldly winds and how to find solid ground amidst chaos. And as we approach the holiday season, we wanted to share some ways of finding steadiness amongst all the things that arise and fall this time of year, and how the 8 worldly winds can be described as the changing conditions of life that test our sense of balance and belonging. They include gain and loss, praise and blame, pleasure and pain, fame and disrepute. So each week we'll work with a pairing. And we'll be reflecting and doing practice that helps support that. And we'll look at how these winds arise in our relationships, especially in this whirl of a holiday season, and how mindfulness and wise view can steady us. This week, like I had mentioned, we're working with gain and loss. So starting out really easy. And gain and loss can show up in a lot of ways, in relationships, in plans, in identity. And we may grasp at what feels like connection or fear of what might be slipping away. And so tonight we'll explore how clinging and aversion shape our reactions to change, and how equanimity allows us to meet gain and loss without losing balance. So let's first begin with what the worldly winds sort of are, and more specifically as it relates to gain and loss. In a sutta that I can't pronounce the full name of, the Buddha teaches that the 8 worldly conditions inevitably visit all beings. None are exempt. So we're not special. I'm not special. All beings will experience the loss of someone or something. I'm not the only person who gains or loses in life, which there's some comfort in, but oftentimes I find that overgeneralization of well, you're not alone to be really annoying. And gain and loss, more so, are not just these big overarching moral categories of you lose and you win. They're descriptions of change. And what we call gain or loss depends on the perception and the attachment of each person. For me, it's easy to see gain and loss as just the physical loss of life, as I've experienced a lot of loss in life, or the gain through relationships, so the subtraction and addition of people. But we're constantly in an ebb and flow of losing and gaining in life. I lose and gain money, what feels like every minute of every day, and I never know where it goes. I lose and gain my emotions every second. Right now, I might be feeling a little anxious, but if you ask me in 10 minutes, I'm totally fine. I lose and gain relationships in different seasons and chapters of my life. And the way that you all might lose and gain will look different and unique to your own attachments and your own perceptions. But the constant is that we all lose and gain. And when we forget that impermanence and gain and loss, it can feel like they're fixed realities. When we forget that there is impermanence, the gain and loss can start to become something that we grasp to, something that feels like it will last forever. So impermanence, as a reminder, is all things that are conditioned to arise will also cease to exist. So all things. And when we lose sight of awareness, the feeling of impermanence can kind of seep in. When we start to lose the awareness that this will come and this will go, it can start to feel well, this might be my forever, right here and now. I know this is especially true in my lows. When I'm in the hardest moments or the most challenging moments of my life, it feels completely insurmountable. And I'm this is the rest of my life. Right now is clearly forever. I have never known happiness. This is it. But what's funny is I'm more aware of impermanence in my moments of joy. And not because I'm like, oh, this is happy and it will go away. I'm like, when's the shoe gonna drop? Like, I'm happy now, but don't worry. Suffering is close by. This will not last forever. But that's still aversion showing up. I'm averse to just being in the moment of joy and happiness. And so during the holidays, gain and loss might show up as a lot of things. It could be the comfort or discomfort of family traditions. As most of you know, or folks who've been around for a little bit, my father passed when I was young. So growing up, most of my childhood meant holidays were spent with like other people, friends and family in their homes, which in one side was a gain because I got to have these really amazing memories with lots of different people each year. And on the other side, it meant a loss because I never really had the like at-home traditions that I was joining in other people's lives. But it wasn't traditional, and that's fine. But there was some gain and loss in that. Sometimes during the holidays, it shows up as the presence or absence of a loved one. And this can show up as like a physical loss, like someone is no longer with us, or just like the absence of someone's presence. During COVID, we all probably experienced that to some degree, the loss of being close to people through holidays or birthdays or seasons. People couldn't be near us in the same way, or we couldn't be near them. And for so many, there may not be a loved one present for these seasons of joy and holidays. Sometimes it looks like setting boundaries with people that we might love, which means that their absence is there. Sometimes loss and gain can look like shifts in identity or financial changes or relationships that might be close to us or distant. And with the holidays approaching in the new year, there comes a lot of external signaling to like be a certain way, to keep strong in your fitness routines, to not eat too much, blah, blah. And the holidays can bring fluctuations in relationships. The holidays can be a stressful time, even with people you love. There can be tension or animosity or a short fuse. And so we're going to work with all of that. This is the worldly wind of gains and loss. Another quote from one of my favorite teachers, Bhikkhu Analio, says, "We suffer not because things change, but because we expect them not to." We suffer not because of the change, but because of our own expectations that they won't. I fall trapped to that a lot. So let's explore how craving and resistance arise and how mindfulness helps to sort of like reveal the root of that reactivity. Clinging makes gain intoxicating and loss devastating. And that felt really profound for me when I was writing this talk, that clinging makes gain intoxicating and loss devastating. And note, I'm not using words like it makes gain fun and loss sad. Intoxicating and devastating are really deep, intimate feelings. When I think of intoxicating, I think of addiction. I want this thing so badly, and if I don't have it, I'll fall apart. That's what clinging does to gain. It makes the stakes of obtaining something or someone or some idea of a thing, a feeling, so high. The stakes are so high when we cling. So high that if it's not obtained, which is inevitable to some degree, the loss feels devastating, world-crushing, highly destructive. And when we're in those highs and lows of both intoxicating and devastating loss and gain, the mind tends to personalize it. It says, I gained this, or I lost that. And it creates an identity around the impermanence and the impermanent conditions. We talked about this last month with parts work, but when we gain or lose, our mind can sometimes find or create whole identities around that loss or gain. People who gain large amounts of money, their identity can become, I am rich, I am wealthy, I am important. I am powerful. People who lose relationship can sometimes find identity in I am unworthy. I am unlovable. I am not enough. But mindfulness invites us to see gain and loss as experiences rather than definitions of self. Because I lost or because I gained in life with mindfulness and awareness and impermanence in all things, I can detach myself from that storyline. I can take a step back. I can see it for what it is. And I can stop the pattern of creating identity in the experience of life. I lost, I gained, and I will continue to lose and gain over and over. That is the truth. It does not, however, define the deep knowing of self. And in community, this might look like comparing ourselves to others, especially during the holidays. There's so much, posting on social media or sharing. Did you get to travel? What did you get? X, Y, Z. And you can feel left out, can feel excluded. So using those same holiday examples, the comfort or discomfort of family traditions or the absence of loved ones. If you don't have a big family or family at all to spend holidays with, or no specific traditions to participate in, instead of clinging to that loss, I can shift my awareness to, I may not have these things right now, but it doesn't mean I won't in the future. Because like we know, all things are impermanent. And free from clinging, I can recognize that. I might not have atypical traditions, but I can create my own that can shift and change as much as they need to fit the life that I'm living. Traditions can be impermanent, are impermanent, and they can change. And with the example of shifts in identity or financial changes or relationships, I don't have the funds this year to be gifting everyone as elaborately as I'd like, which is just clinging to this expectation or this feeling that I need to. And I still have gifts that can be given. The gifts of my time, writing kind letters, the gift of presence. Gifts are impermanent. And free from clinging, I can see other ways that I can participate or give. I don't feel close to everyone that I would like to this holiday season, personally. Some distance might be needed right now from folks. And this year, I'm redirecting that love for myself and for my own peace. And this is the type of closeness that I want to foster. Impermanence of the expectation of what relationships should look like or how they will look year to year, and the freedom to explore new potential opportunities. One of my favorite teachers, Tuwari Sala, says freedom is not found in controlling life's changes, but in meeting them with a heart that does not grasp. Freedom is not found in controlling life's changes, no matter how much I try over and over, but in meeting them with a heart that does not grasp. So how do we create a heart that does not grasp? How do we move through a holiday season of gain and loss without feeling so caught up in the waves? We're going to practice equanimity. As a reminder, equanimity means being able to meet whatever arises in life with a steadiness that cannot be moved. Equanimity, though, isn't indifference. It's not like a passivity of like, well, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Fuck it. It's a way to be intimate with our experience without attachment. It allows us to sit with the gain and loss of our lives, of others' lives, throughout the season by being able to be close to it without the feelings of craving or aversion, so wanting something to stay or wanting it to go away or trying to fix it or ignore it. The mind steadies when it understands that everything is subject to change. Joy and sorrow coming and going. So as we move through the next couple months and are greeted with pain and loss, we can bring present moment awareness to the impermanence of whatever might be happening. Easier said than done, of course. But these practices are seeds that get planted in the mind, and as we continue to practice them, it's like watering that seed, which continues to grow and build new pathways in our brain. So as loss and gain inevitably arise again and again, our brain knows that there's other ways to meet that because we've been practicing it over and over. I can meet this moment differently than I used to. And in relational spaces, equanimity allows us to stay connected without collapsing to others' experiences. So maybe you're feeling Gucci, you're good, I'm fine this holiday season. But maybe someone else is having a difficult time, and that can be a lot to sit with. Being present for other people's experiences. And especially for those who don't have maybe the skills or the tools to meet those moments skillfully. And equanimity allows us to meet their humanity and their lived experiences with less absorption. I can bear witness to what might be happening in other people without letting it envelop me into the devastation or to the intoxication of what they might be going through. So a couple of realistic things that we can use to cultivate equanimity as we move through is mindful breathing during moments of emotional intensity. Sometimes it just takes a breath. Maybe I can just pause and breathe for a second, or step aside and be like, I just need to breathe for a couple minutes before I be in relation with whatever's happening. Maybe remembering phrases like we practice today, like this too will change. This is going to change. This is part of life. And remembering and expanding our field of vision a bit wider, that everything is conditioned and impermanent. Impermanence reminds us that gain and loss are part of the same current. Everything we experience is in motion. The more we can see this truth, the less we're thrown by each wave. And so as we wrap up tonight, I want to capture everything to hopefully something that's more succinct. We've got gain and loss as being natural parts of the human experience. We're not separate from loss and gain. And they're just examples, 2 examples of the type of impermanence that we experience. Number 2, clinging and aversion to experience create an environment for us to build identities around the loss and gain in our lives. And so being mindful allows us to view the loss and gain as just an experience and not a definition. Practicing equanimity allows us to experience the rise and fall of loss and gain with more skillful steadiness. This quote from Audre Lorde I'll leave you with, which was adapted from her reflections on presence and integrity, says, as we let go of what we think should be, we begin to touch what is, the only ground that doesn't move. And so some reflections that I'll leave you with that you can explore either in our discussion tonight or later throughout the week. When something pleasant arises, can I enjoy it without trying to hold it? When something unpleasant arises, can I let it move through without pushing it away? Can I notice how gain and loss appear in small ways each day, in conversations, energy, emotions, rather than just the big events of my life? Can I offer myself and others steadiness instead of certainty? Take what works, leave the rest. I appreciate your time.